Hi everyone, my name is Jan. I'm the technical advisor for the IXEG 737 team, and it's been pretty quiet for the last few weeks. An occasional post or blog here and there, but now Christmas is coming up and I figured it's time to send one or two videos this way. The first one was about the electrical system, and I know that a lot of you are out there saying, well, this sounds like a really complicated airplane. I really don't feel like messing with all the systems. I just like airplanes that fly. Also heard about people saying, well, it doesn't have a 2D cockpit, it's going to be too hard to fly. And with this video I would like to alleviate some of these fears. So I'm out here at Nice in southern France on runway 4 right, and I'd like to fly just a basic visual pattern, lift off, fly at 1500 feet downwind, come back around to land. And I just want to show you the basic steps needed if you don't want to mess with all the systems. So I'm starting by setting an altitude reference here. I want to fly at 1500 feet, so I put the little orange altitude marker to 5 just to help me remember. And also you can see the altimeter is not set correctly. Nice is at 10 feet, so it's more like 29.92 or 1013. Next thing is I want to get some speeds for takeoff and landing, and I'm using the FMS. You could look it up in a table, but I'm just using this here now. Weight's at 100,000 pounds, that's 45 tons approximately. I've set this to tons right now, and I'm just scooting over to the takeoff page. See, it's set for flaps 5, and the speeds are right here. I'll just accept them by clicking. That transfers them over here to the E80i speed tape, and if I don't want to look at that, I just set the speed cursor on the Mach airspeed indicator to 132 to help you remember the V2. Now I want to have a reference for the runway direction, so I'm setting the EHSI to the basic, expanded, or actually the full rose mode. Lots of you should be familiar with that one. And you can see it's already set to 44, that's the runway direction. I can adjust that here. And same thing for the heading bar, it's also set there. So that's pretty much it. All we need now is extend the flaps, and as I said, I'm going to flaps 5. So here they start driving. You can see the leading edge flaps transit light come up, and if I look up, you can see that up here. Now they're on full extend. And I'm using my Track IR, which is what I would recommend for flying an airplane with a 3D cockpit of this complexity, and it works just fine. All the things that you need are in plain view with that. Okay, on the overhead panel I don't really need to mess with anything except maybe the pressurization. There are certain modes, it's on auto right now, and well, what I'm going to do is I'll just set it on standby. Allows me to set the cabin altitude pretty much directly as in any other plane, and I set it to -200. It's on flight already. You can see the cabin climb rate going down, and the cabin drives to -200. That pressurizes the cabin slightly for takeoff to avoid the pressure bump. And in standby mode I'm also not going to get any warnings if I descend prematurely. Alright, lights are on already, inboard landing lights, and also the logo, strobe, position, anti-collision lights. All these are running, and we're ready to go. So I'm just checking on the thrust rating. It says 20 kN1, that's 90.5. That's what I want to set for takeoff. So I'm releasing the parking brake and just advance the thrust levers until I get 90.5% approximately. There we go, close enough. So, passing 80 knots. And on the E80i tape you can see the V1 and VR coming up. Here we go, lift off. And initial pitch is about 15 degrees, maybe a little more. That should be good. Time to raise the gear. Climbing straight out to 1,000 feet. There's the city of Nice to the left. Lots of rich people that don't like noise, so I'll start my turn here at 1,000 feet. In reality, you would start the turn much sooner to get away from the city. 1500 feet coming up, so I'm leveling off, power back to about 60% in 1, and that should put my speed at about 170 knots, which is fine for flaps 5. You can see I'm turning nicely towards the downwind direction. This gives me some time to check with the init ref button. During flight takes me to the approach page, and I see for flaps 30 the speed, the ref is 127. We add 5 knots to that, that puts us at 132, so I can just leave the speed cursor right where it is. Coming up on downwind heading, and I will roll out in a second here. Here we go. And really flying on pitch and power. Try to maintain that 1500, pretty much hands off. Plane is fairly stable to fly, and once you have it trimmed, there's no problem really. Here's the airport. I want to time the beam position, and what I'll do is, I forgot to start the time, I'll do that now. And I want to land on the left runway, so I'm a beam right now. So here comes the timing, and here comes clear down. And I want to time about 40 seconds outbound flight from the beam position. Speed is coming down slowly to 150 knots. I'm extending the flaps to 15. And well, getting a little low here, but the flaps balloon a little bit from 5 to 10, so that helps me to come back up. And if I look at the time now, coming up at 35 seconds. Speed is coming down to 150, didn't change the thrust at all. And at 40 seconds I start my turn, go flaps 25, and do about 500 feet per minute sink rate. Need a little back trim now as I get slower. Here's the beautiful coastline. Lots of noise sensitive people, so I want to make sure I stay away from that. Check the real approach plates for Nice, you can see that there's a VOR approach that's pretty much just like that off the coast. Here's the airport, go to final flaps, arm the speed brake, and continue my turn in. Coming a little high maybe. As I said, I'm going for the left runway, and the basis looks pretty good already. So I just keep going with a smooth turn to final. And of course it's time to read the final checklist. And on here it says final start switch is continuous. They are up here. Speed brake armed green light. Here it is. Here down 3 green and flaps 30 green lights. Time to concentrate on the landing. Getting a little low here. There we go. So on this approach I didn't set any ILS or anything like that. Didn't program it into the FMS. You can just fly this plane pretty much like a Cessna, looking outside, and with a little experience you'll be able to perform very smoothly. Spoilers came out, here comes the reverse. Idle only at this noise critical airport, and I'm using my wheel brakes to slow down. Get a convenient turn off to the left. $60 knots, reverse are coming close, and there's a nice high-speed turn off. We spent a lot of effort to get really good ground handling performance on this aircraft. There's some plug-in work because it's a well-known secret that the ground model of X-Plane is a little, well, I'd say complicated, not flawed, but it's complicated, and we're using some ways to make this airplane turn very nicely, go straight when it should, and also behave correctly with respect to idle thrust and all these things. For now, I'm just going to stop right here, and I want to thank you for watching. Remind everyone that this is a beta, or actually alpha. There's still lots of stuff unfinished. So see the sidewalls, 3D done, but no texturing yet. But the plane flies pretty well already.